Our minds are constantly doing something we rarely acknowledge. Something subtle, automatic, and unbelievably powerful. They are collecting data. Every conversation, every gesture, every interaction becomes a small piece of information that your brain quietly stores. And without you noticing, it begins to extract patterns from these experiences. It starts to see what tends to happen, what rarely happens, and what almost always happens. This is not a deliberate calculation. It is the natural operation of the human mind. We are pattern-seeking beings. We always have been. Long before we created mathematics, before we had words like probability or statistics, the brain was doing them. It had to. Prediction was survival. If you could recognize the signs of danger, of trustworthiness, of cooperation or hostility, you had a better chance of staying alive. Pattern recognition is not a modern invention. It is ancient human intelligence. And this brings us to a concept that makes many people uncomfortable: stereotyping. The word is loaded, shaped by history, culture, and the harm that certain stereotypes have caused. But underneath the moral weight of the term lies a simple psychological reality. The brain generalizes because it must. It compresses complexity into expectations so that it can navigate the world quickly and effectively. When the mind meets a new person, it does not start from zero. It quietly consults the patterns it has formed through years of experience. It asks itself, usually without words, have I seen someone like this before? How did they behave? What tends to happen in this context? What is likely? And what is unlikely? This is not malice. This is statistics. And here's the crucial point. Not all stereotyping is the same. There is what we may call statistical stereotyping, the mind's natural, subconscious analysis based on real interactions, real experiences, and real patterns. This kind of generalization is flexible. It updates itself when new information arrives. It doesn't claim certainty. It simply recognizes likelihoods. If you have spoken with thousands of people across cultures, if you have observed consistent tendencies in communication styles, behavior patterns, attitudes, or expressions, your mind begins to carry these tendencies as priors, predictions that are not invented but learned. Statistical stereotyping is not about placing people into rigid boxes. It is about the brain preparing itself for what might come next based on what has repeatedly happened before. It is a cognitive shortcut, and it is often remarkably accurate. But there is another kind of stereotyping: dogmatic stereotyping. The kind that is built not on experience but on hearsay, bias, ideology, fear, or misinformation. It is rigid, not flexible. It does not update itself when confronted with new evidence. It does not emerge from authentic encounters but from inherited assumptions. And this form of stereotyping is the one that harms, divides, and misleads. The challenge is that society uses one word for two very different processes. One is a natural function of the mind. The other is a failure of the mind. So the question is not whether stereotyping exists. It always has, and it always will. The question is how it is formed, and how we use it. Experience-based generalizations can help us navigate social situations, anticipate behaviors, and understand people more quickly. They can increase empathy by revealing patterns we might otherwise miss. But only if we remain open to being wrong. Only if we allow each individual the chance to surprise us. Only if we treat patterns as probabilities, not truths. The danger begins the moment we take a statistical tendency and turn it into a moral judgment. The moment we believe our expectations are certainties. The moment we stop letting new experiences reshape old patterns. Wisdom lies in balancing two truths. The mind needs generalizations, and individuals deserve individuality. The person standing in front of you may fit a pattern you've seen 1,000 times before, or they may break it completely. The task is not to shut down the mind's instinct to categorize, but to remain aware of it, to let your patterns guide you without letting them control you, to use them as tools, not as verdicts. Our brains will always recognize patterns. They will always compress experience into expectations. This is not prejudice, it is human cognition. But wisdom is the ability to see the pattern without losing sight of the person. The real question is not, do I stereotype? It is, are my stereotypes alive, flexible, and grounded in experience, or rigid, outdated, and unexamined? Because the mind is not defined by the patterns it forms, but by its willingness to revise them. And the more aware we become of how our brains build these internal statistics, the more responsibly and compassionately we can move through the world.